Sales Studio, featuring our host, Bob Perkins.
Hi, this is Bob Perkins with AAISP's Inside Sales Studio. Thanks for joining us today. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to do a series on women in sales and women in leadership. And I'm so pleased to have Lori Richardson with us today. Hi, Lori. How are you doing?
Hi, Bob. I'm doing great here. Thanks.
Good. Lori is the founder and president of Score More Sales. She's also the president of Women Sales Pros, a group that's dedicated to the advancement of women. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're really going to talk about women in sales, women in leadership, advancing careers. And I hope we have a great conversation and from here that we can really help women advance in the marketplace out there. So Lori, some of the viewers may be familiar with you, but others may not. So could you take just a few minutes and share with us your background?
Yeah, absolutely. My camera keeps popping out here, so if my eyes are rolling around, that's what I'm looking at. So I've been in sales all my adult life, and I've been in technology sales for most of that time. So I've been a sales rep, inside rep, outside rep, sales manager, you name it. I've run a corporate university, and for the last 12 or so years have run a consultancy where I'm helping other companies with their sales and sales leadership. So I'm all about sales. I'm all about helping companies grow revenues, and it's an exciting time, and it's an exciting business.
So I like to ask this question for people that have been in sales for quite some time. How did you get your very first start in sales? Do you remember what that was? And was it was it right out of high school or college or whatever?
Well, I grew up in a family-run business. So my grandmother had an upscale women's clothing store, and I've written about it. It's been on the HubSpot blog, in fact. And my grandmother was a role model to me, and I didn't know it until later because I ended up becoming a teacher, but it wasn't very good money, and I couldn't support my family. I also became a single mom at a young age. So as a teenager, actually. So I decided I would look into non-traditional work. Somehow it brought me to sales because I knew that I could get paid what my male counterparts make. So I made an intentional choice to get into sales. Unlike a lot of people that, I've talked to a lot of women in particular that feel like they kind of stumble into it, but it was an intentional choice.
Well, that's great. I'm sure having a role model helped, and that family business probably wearing a lot of hats and knowing that it all revolves around making revenue and making the sale. That's fantastic. So talk to us a little bit about, you've had a long career, you've worked your way up, you'd advanced your career. Right now you're a very prominent individual within the inside sales community. You speak at events. I know you write articles and so on and so forth. Tell us about, sort of advancing your career and meeting your goals. Was it hard? Can you share some tips along the way? What helped you for others that may be watching?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest thing I had going for me was that I love to learn. And that's probably why I became a teacher in the first place. But I really love to try new things, and I also am driven to success. It's so important for us to have in terms of being successful in sales. And so, I think that you can't lose sight of that. You have to, you need to really be focused and understand what it is that you're working for. What gets you up every day? It's not just so for, people that they have a weekend or a long weekend, they come back to work. What's driving you? And you've got to know what that is, because that's what's going to get you to do that extra bit that is necessary for you to succeed.
Sure. So have those goals and set them out there. Be determined. I hear determination and persistence in your voice a little bit.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, being mediocre is something I never wanted to be. I always single mom, so I had a disadvantage because I often was the only woman in my sales team, or even in whole company, depending on the companies I worked for. I was one of a couple, and being a single parent was definitely a disadvantage if you're trying to really build a territory and build your business.
Right.
So I had to work really hard, and I had to stay focused. But I think that focus is what got me to get things done and get things accomplished, because I couldn't do anything else.
Right. So I'm sure you've had lots of accomplishments along the way, and part of this video series here, we also talk about setbacks or failures. Can you share an especially proud moment with an accomplishment? But then I'm going to also ask you to maybe share something that didn't work out, a failure or setback that you learned from.
Yeah, I think for one of the proud moments that stands out for me in my sales career was when I was reluctantly hired and I took over somebody's territory, and the guy who had the territory before me was pretty bad, and there was a very large opportunity that my company that I was now working for was not invited to because of this gentleman that preceded me. So I was able to meet with this company and get them to turn around and give us the opportunity to bid, and we subsequently won a multi-million-dollar deal.
Wow.
And so that was me. It wasn't, usually when you win a bid, there's a lot of people that participate in it, but that really made me know that I brought something to that. And the company, certainly the senior VP that hired me felt a little better, I guess, once I had been successful with that. And they were a really good client.
Like they knew they made the right hire by getting you, the $1 million woman, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Let's. What about a setback, a failure, anything that a lesson learned? Because I believe we learn a lot from failures, right?
Oh, for sure. I don't even know where to start. Had a lot. Fail fast. That's what I think we need to remember. I'm thinking about a time when I thought I had a big deal, another multi-million-dollar deal, and it was all but decided upon. And in the 11th hour, I found out that my competition had a higher level contact than I did. And they got in there, they swooped in, and they ended up with the business. And it taught me a really good lesson about really knowing all the decision makers, knowing the politics and understanding what's going on. That it really makes you look bad when that happens, and it feels horrible.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's a lesson learned, and some different ways you adopted to making sure you turn over every rock, making sure you got through to every decision. Yeah, good.
Absolutely.
Let's sort of shift our gear now towards the women that are out there. We've been to conferences together, and you've led.
We wrote an article together.
That's right. We've written articles together. You've hosted a couple women's panels, and you and I hear a common theme. One, we know there's a shortage of qualified candidates in inside sales, period.
Yeah.
We know that's so true too for leadership, and we know especially that there's a shortage of women. There's almost an imbalance, if you will, of women, not just in the front line, but particularly in leadership. So I want to focus on women in leadership. I'd like to focus on women that are in their career. They may be early in their career or mid in their career, even later in the career, that really want to aspire into a leadership position. Let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the things I know you've done some of your own research. You've compiled some others' research. Talk to us a little bit about the importance, number one, of women in leadership. And then we can maybe share some tips after that.
Absolutely. Well, we know that there are more women who are frontline sales leaders, about 30% overall. But we know as you go up the chain of command, there are less women in leadership. So it goes down to about 17% as you go up the ladder to like a senior VP level. And yet, 50% of those in universities and colleges are women. So we definitely should have a pool. We know that not all women are enthused about the opportunity of getting into sales, and I think that just comes from a lack of understanding about the opportunity,
right,
and the baggage that the word sales has. So because the women that have gone into it, there are incredible opportunities, as you know, in sales and sales leadership. So some of it is that we need to keep letting people know what a great career it is and how great it could be for women, and also that leadership is doable and leadership is valuable, and it's something that many companies, a lot of tech companies, a lot of distribution companies that we're around, they're looking for women leaders, as you know.
Right. And I feel having up until recently having led and managed inside sales organizations for over 20 years. That's what I did. I saw the value and the diversity of having a very healthy blend between male and female leaders. I mean, there's something that I believe women bring to the table that differentiates them. It's a very it's very healthy for an organization to have that mix. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes. Well, we know about boards. There's been research about how boards that have both male and female members do better.
Yeah.
And so there's just no reason why we shouldn't make the effort. And I really think it does take effort on the part of leaders. This has to be an area of focus.
Yes.
And it can't just be a nice to have, but you really have to go out and make it happen.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I believe, the more senior level leadership, and let's just talk inside sales, because we know so many companies, we know so many leaders. There's definitely a male predominance at the senior level. There's no doubt about it. So what you're saying, and what I believe in, is we're asking leaders to specifically try to encourage, try to develop, try to mentor, try to bring women along specifically that could step up to the shoes to a mid or senior level manager. Is that what we're asking?
Yeah. A good example, some of the things that Mark Benioff has worked to put into place at Salesforce.com, and not just Mark, but other people on his team, to where they have, they have things such as, and this isn't just sales, but this is because they're a technology company that's predominantly male. I understand that they don't have a meeting unless it's 30% women in the room. And that may be a type of meeting. I'm not quite sure. But they're very conscious when they put on Dreamforce, for example, they're very conscious that they don't have only one type of person listed as speakers, where a lot of other companies don't think anything of that. But they're very conscious about things like that, and they work really hard. They did a lot with, they had actually 2 different sessions on women in sales at Dreamforce, which we did a panel with Jill Conrath on that, and so it's conscious effort, though. It wasn't just a wish or an idea that that would be a nice thing to do. So it goes to how you craft your job descriptions, who's on the hiring team, how you bring people in, all sorts of factors that we've been talking to a lot of companies about lately.
That's good. So we've given then the senior managers a bit of a challenge right here, right? Some of those things you shared, some things I shared. Let's take just a final couple minutes here and sort of wrap this up with, let's offer up 2 or 3 tangible, specific tips that we could share with women that really want to take that next step in their career. And I'll start with one, Lori, and that is
Okay.
mentoring, right? I know both
Yeah.
of us have talked about this. The AAISP is a mentor program that they can sign up for to look for an appropriate mentor. So take that step today, even if you're not an AAISP member, you're outside the community, that's fine.
Right.
Look for an appropriate mentor. Surround yourself with people that are results oriented, people like you, Lori, that are determined and so on. So that's one tip.
People, I call them.
Can-do people, sure.
Yeah.
Another tip or two you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would say, if you're in a company and you're thinking about leadership, in addition to mentorship, there's sponsorship. And Bob, sponsorship in a company it's a really exciting area, because that's when a senior leader who's well respected actually helps you in a number of very tangible ways to get you in front of the right people, to get you on the right committee, to help you be a part of an important high visibility project. Sure. And so for women who are looking into, maybe I could be a leader, I'm not sure, I would look into the idea of sponsorship, and certainly to reach out to any of us at Women's Sales Pros. We love talking to women that are looking into leadership, and there are a number of us that will make time, be happy to talk with you and give you ideas or connect you to the right people.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to jump in on the Women's Sales Pros. I know Women's Sales Pros, you're the president of that group. You're going to be attending and sponsoring, exhibiting throughout the year with the AISP. So we're super excited to have you. Talk to the viewers a little bit about this group, Women's Sales Pros.
Yeah, well, first of all, we are so excited to be a part of AISP in 2016. We're so looking forward to that. First, going to San Francisco next. Yeah. And so Women's Sales Pros is a group that, it's really it's a virtual community where we talk about, write about, connect people who are all supporting the idea of more women sales professionals, more women professionals in leadership, and there are a lot of women sales experts among the group. So anyone that is for that cause, we welcome you, and we would love to. We'll fill you in at the womensalespros.com site.
So that's if you could repeat that, the URL for anyone interested in that.
Yes, it's women plural, womensalespros.com, and also Women's Sales Pros on Twitter.
Great. We'll make sure the audience gets that there. That's fantastic. So as we wrap up here, any final comments or thoughts you'd like to share, Lori, at all?
Well, I just appreciate this topic, and just last week I went to an event here in the Boston area, and there was a woman there who had been in sales, in technology, for 10 years. She's a younger woman. She started in her early 20s. And there was a woman VP of sales at this event, and she said she had never met a woman VP of sales in 10 years. And I thought, wow, that is unbelievable. And so there's definitely work to be done. And a woman like that, she would like, a mentor to see someone that's a VP in sales, just to see that it's doable. And I think that it's a really good idea that we're talking about.
Well, look, that's fantastic. I appreciate your support. As the AISP helps to mold and shape the community, we look forward to your participation, Women's Sales Pros participation. I know we'll see you in a few weeks in San Francisco. You'll be leading a panel of 4 accomplished women, correct?
Yes. We'll be talking about, again, what women can do to be better prepared and ready to move up the ladder, and also what companies can do to help make that happen.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to try to make that session for sure. I may be one of a handful of guys in the room, but that's okay. You'll let me in, right?
We welcome it.
All right.
Absolutely.
Lori. All
Open
right.
arms.
Look, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us today. Again, this is Bob Perkins with the AAISP Inside Sales Studio. Looking forward to another series on women in sales and women in sales leadership coming to you shortly. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for joining us.